This is serious. Why are you laughing?
You hear this? Listen, Nick. I think it's time. Stop this nonsense.
We have an intervention.
You stop it with the Alfreds. Listen to Russ. He knows what he's talking about.
You don't know shit.
What?
You don't even have any good players on your team.
Right. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I got no good players. I'm never in the Max Bowl. I never win.
All right, I'm going to bed. I gotta go to bed. I'm getting delirious.
Okay.
We're spending way too much time talking about Alfred Morris, Alfred Blue, and Lamar Miller.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. See you later.
Bye.
If I can leave this meeting.
Yeah, me too.
Awkward goodbye. It's not like Google Hangouts where you just click the X and it's automatically out. Later.
Welcome to the NFLMAX, the radio show inspired by the league, founded in 1998, bringing you 20-plus years of fantasy football experience. Broadcasting from our brains to your earbuds as we break down player profiles for your teams in Dynasty. You can check us out now on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Facebook, or you can watch the show on YouTube at youtube.com/NFLMAX for your weekly Max fix. And as always, Ewok Juggernaut here with the hot pineapples. We had preseason week 1, ended a few days ago, and in a few days from now, week 2 of the preseason. What's going on, man?
Not much. It was, fun to have some football back, and I did get to watch a lot of the games. I was playing preseason DFS, so I had my eyes on pretty much every game, and it was fun. It was just good to see football back, regardless of who's actually on the field. This is your one time to kind of get your eyes on, some of these young guys who, will potentially be down the depth chart, whether that's running back 3 or maybe even practice squad, some wide receivers down the depth chart. But it's your first chance to get some eyes on some guys and see how they perform, against, regardless of who it is, NFL talent.
Yeah, we'll dive into some of our takes in a few minutes, but let's start off the show with the ongoing Antonio Brown saga. And he reported to camp today with the Raiders, and just the shenanigans continue. Whether it's his frostbitten foot, and now they're talking about the helmet issue where, the decision came down today through arbitration. He lost it, of course, but nonetheless, you've got the helmet issue that seems to be ongoing, the foot issue. It's kind of hard to see him being productive on the field now after 2 months of this. But what do you think about this stuff that's going on with AB?
I still think AB is a really strong play for redraft and in a 1 year to 2 year window. I actually saw a poll posted on Twitter by Curtis Patrick asking, who would you rather have? And it was Curtis Samuel and Antonio Brown. And man, it was close. At one point, actually, Curtis Samuel was ahead when there was like 200 votes, and then like 400 came in and they flip-flopped. It was like 51% AB, 49% Curtis Samuel.
That's
and then
crazy.
AB pulled away a little bit, but that's insane. So of course I jumped on and I sent some offers. I tested the waters. I have a couple Curtis Samuel shares, so I offered them for AB straight up. Nothing happened. So, that's the thing with Twitter polls, like everyone picks one thing, but they would never actually make that trade.
No.
So the market's beat down, so to speak, but I saw nothing come from it. But I still think AB is going to be a target funnel there. I don't have any reason to suspect that he won't have a good year. I think, if he misses 1 to 2 weeks in the beginning with this foot thing, that'll be interesting. You don't want to see that if you're a Raider fan, or if you're, an Antonio Brown fan in fantasy football. Because, if he misses week 1 or 2, that means he's out of condition then heading into week 3 and week 4. And all of a sudden a quarter of the season's gone and, you haven't really hit stride yet. So it's not an ideal situation, but I also don't suspect that it'll be a wash for him. I do expect that when he's on the field and healthy and a full go, that he will get the majority of the team targets.
Yeah, they showed footage on NFL Network of him reporting to camp with Drew Rosenhaus and him limping around the field, which it wasn't a good look for him, limping around, definitely walking around gingerly. But I don't know. I'm going to assume he's going to miss some time in the early part of the season, maybe like you said, a couple weeks. But I mean, if you're an AB owner, thank God he got some reps in with Derek Carr, like a month ago with mini camps and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. The whole thing is weird. I haven't seen Hard Knocks yet because I don't have HBO. I canceled that thing when Game of Thrones ended. So I'll have to go back and watch it later on. But
yeah, it is weird too. The whole helmet thing is kind of, I mean, it is wacko, but fans were just as funny because they're like, actually, Dr. Chow, who I follow, I mean, he's a great follow. He's pretty much on point with the video calls, pretty much every time. But he was saying, like, this is a simple solution for the helmet thing in the NFL. Just offer AB a waiver. If he signs it and, you informed him of the potential risks and it's a risk he's willing to take, and then you let him wear the helmet. It's a simple solution. And fans were all over Twitter like, oh, so you think it's okay to let AB wear a 10-year-old helmet? And it's like, he's not actually putting on a 10-year-old helmet. He's putting on a helmet that was designed 10 years ago. It's not like a 10-year-old helmet. Like he's been using it every game for 10 years. So fans are just hysterical.
Yeah. I mean, Brady was using it up until what, last year, the year before?
Yeah. I mean, it's, there was 32 players in the league that were using it. So it's not like he's the only one. He's just the only one making that big of a deal of it.
Yeah. Well, he makes a big deal about everything.
Yeah.
But that's AB. So moving on, let's go to Dallas for a little bit here. Dak Prescott reports came out a couple of days ago about between the 30 million or 40 million. First, they're saying he turned down $30 million a year, which is top 5 quarterback money. Then reports came out yesterday that he wants 40 million a year. And, we all know you're a Cowboys fan. 40 million a year is just ridiculous. And then he, took it back today in the reports, saying that he did not want 40 million a year. So, I mean, listen, he's going to get paid top 5 money. I don't know what the holdup is, but he better be careful because honestly, the Cowboys don't have to pay him. They can pretty much let his contract run out and just tag him at the end of the year and then restructure a contract the way most teams do that with quarterbacks anyway. So, I mean, if I'm Dallas and you got to pay Zeke, you got to pay Cooper, and obviously Dak. I think if I'm Dallas, I'm going to franchise tag him at the end of the year, pay Zeke the money that he needs, and negotiate something with Cooper. But especially if he's turning down $30 million a year. But I don't know. What have you heard in Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not paying Dak Prescott $40 million. I think it's almost insane that we're paying him 30. But I get it. I understand. But I think, it was all just a leverage play, and he had to pull it back because it's just an astronomical, insane number. Obviously, he knew he wasn't getting 40. I was saying, I was talking with some of my friends. I think it'll settle around 32 and a half to 33 would be my guess. And you know what? Fine. That's fine for a quarterback who, I mean, he's definitely not elite in this league. He's average, in my opinion, average at best. But, I mean, you can win with him. I don't know if you'll ever win a Super Bowl with him. But he's shown that, you can win some divisions, you can make the playoffs, and so that's fine if they want to pony up that money. I know the quarterback position in the NFL is hard to come by. So, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think they're going to pay all 3 guys. They're in a pretty good cap situation. The Cowboys are. They've been pretty wise with their contracts, locking up the offensive line and then, focusing now on the big 3. And Amari Cooper deal is in my opinion, as good as done. I mean, you don't trade a first round pick for a guy and not expect to lock him up, especially after, he had the finish that Amari did. Dak's not going anywhere. He wants to be a Cowboy. The Cowboys want him. He's loved by the fan base, even though, over here I'm much more in Team Tony Romo. But and Zeke's going to get his. So I'm really not worried about it. The big three will be in Dallas to stay behind that offensive line. I'm really not worried about it. It's just a matter of, how much. But this does inhibit them moving forward. And, that they're going to be really tight. And so, they're going to have to draft well if they want to compete. And so my theory is, give Will McClay what he wants. I know people were starting to look at him this offseason. I know the Dolphins looked at him for their potential GM job. He's the guy that runs the Cowboys drafts, man. He has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal over the past, 5 to 10 years. And I just want them to pay him as much as he wants because he doesn't count against the cap. So pay him GM money and let him sit there and draft for you and draft well. So that's where I'm at.
As long as Jerry's not drafting. But if you're Dak, you better hope they pay Zeke now, because without Zeke, Dak is not anything. Dak is not Dak. We could talk a little bit about, we talked about it last week about that running back backfield, and then we'll jump into Cooper here in a second because there's news on Cooper tonight. But I said it all along that the immediate handcuff to Zeke Elliott is Tony Pollard. And I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall here in that first preseason game where he came out there with the ones, got 4 carries, looked well, showed well, had, I think, averaged 4 yards a carry. And then Mike Weber came in with the 2s and 3s. And
I was actually surprised by that too, that he played ahead of Darius Jackson. I thought for sure Weber was practice squad bound. So I was surprised and pleasantly surprised to see that. So
yeah. In my opinion, Mike Weber did not look good. He averaged 2.3 yards a carry at the half. And I tweeted what I tweeted on Twitter and that he did not look good. And lo and behold, I got a reply from Mike Weber's mom. And all apologies to Mike Weber's mom for my tweet. Cue the Sorry Miss Jackson song. But yeah,
yeah, she just gave you the shush, which is funny. That's fun that she would interact with fans like that, and back up her son. Obviously she's a mom. She doesn't want to see anything negative, but
of course. But then he came right out in the third quarter and busted out like a nice 10-yard run. So he boosted his average up from 2.3 to I think it was like 3.5 or 4 yards carry. But yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, listen, I'm like we talked about last week, just touch on it again. I still don't think Tony Pollard would carry the full load. I know what Jerry said. I think Jerry's full of crap. He didn't look great in between the tackles. He didn't look strong in the interior. So I don't know. I'm just, for a guy whose maximum workload in college was 78 carries over the course of a year, it's hard for me to get behind a profile like that and believe that he can carry the load. And I know that Darrell Henderson was there, but still, it doesn't mean he can't. It just means that if I have a poker chip in fantasy football, I'm putting it on Mike Weber, a guy who's done it, who has carried a load for a big school in Ohio State and performed well. Mike Weber was a good running back at Ohio State. So my poker chip is definitely on Mike Weber. They definitely have a plan for Pollard. There's no question about it. The amount of time he was on the field was very telling. He's going to get the first crack. But similar to how it was with, Eagles and my fandom for Josh Adams last year, it might be a situation where Weber starts behind Pollard, and then as it goes on, he rises up the depth chart if Zeke is out. If Zeke is there, this is all mute anyway. So
he's not even going to make the 53. Let's be honest. He's going right to the practice squad. It's going to be Zeke, Pollard, and probably Alf will probably, he might not make it either actually. But I think Weber's going right to that practice squad. But
I still think Rod Smith will end up there.
I hope so.
I have a funny feeling Rod Smith will be the actual backup, the true backup. Alf might be gone, Weber to the practice squad, Rod Smith cut from New York, and he ends up back in Dallas, and he's the immediate backup, and Pollard has his specialized role.
That would be funny. Staying up in Dallas and finishing up here with the Cowboys. I don't know if you saw this, but reports came out today. Amari Cooper has plantar fascia irritation and bad timing. I mean, plantar fascia is not that's a serious injury. We saw MJD suffer from it and destroy his career with the Raiders, amongst other players. But this is bad timing for Cooper, who he's about to get paid. And the report came out tonight at about 6 o'clock Eastern. So I don't know if you saw it, if you know anything about it, but that's what came out today.
I did not, but yeah, it stinks. It's bad timing. It's part of football. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's one of those things where that's the kind of injury where, especially at the wide receiver position, I mean, so much is predicated on your ability to plant and cut and create separation, which Amari's game is built on. He's not a guy who's going to, blaze past the cornerback. He creates separation at the line with his ability to run routes and run routes very well. And a lot of that is predicated on his ability to plant and cut and do it with ease. And so it's one of those things you're going to have to wait and see. How does it hinder him? Does it actually affect his, ability to break in and out of his routes? And I mean, if you get him at 90% of his normal self, he'll be just fine. If you get him at 60% of his self, he's not going to perform as well. And, any lower than that, he'll struggle because he doesn't have the top end speed.
Well, he's not worth 3 first-round picks, so we've heard from certain NFLMAX owners, but we won't go there. Moving on, getting out of Dallas, enough of those guys. Let's go to Houston, where Duke Johnson was traded from the Browns to the Houston Texans for a 4th-round pick, and that pick can actually turn into a 3rd-round pick next year. Not sure exactly what the clause is, but Duke Johnson in a juicy situation with Houston. You've got to be, excited if you're a Duke Johnson truther. And I myself, as a Hurricanes fan, I'm not a big Duke Johnson guy. I've been highly critical of him coming out of college. Yes, he's the all-time leading rusher for the Hurricanes, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't see him as an every down type back. I know he's prototypically sized because he's over 200 pounds and, whatever. But I don't know. I think if the Texans use him properly, he'll be effective in PPR. But I've got my doubts. I'm not quite sure the Texans are going to use him the way he should be used. The Browns didn't use him. Why? I don't know. He's a terrific receiver out of the backfield. But nonetheless, they did not use him and they traded him. So this is Rosenhaus doing Rosenhaus things and being, probably the best agent of football, because the Browns did not want to trade this guy. And they made it very clear. And to be honest, they should not have traded him because, he can play that satellite role. And if they're going to make a strong push like, they're showing here, making the playoffs, they would definitely need Duke Johnson coming out of the backfield. But nonetheless, the deal went down. Duke finally got his way. So I know you're a Duke Johnson fan. What are your thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say fan. I think I always, kind of saw the potential in Duke, and I don't think that he was used the right way in Cleveland. I think that I don't know why they hated him. He has a lot more talent than the way that they deployed him. I don't think he's a world beater by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that he's an instant, uptick kind of guy. I think he's going to go to Houston and he's going to, perform well. I think he's definitely going to have an impact on Lamar Miller. Yeah. I saw a lot of people out there saying that Lamar Miller would be unaffected. I don't know how you could possibly think that.
Who said that?
A lot of people on Twitter were saying this isn't going to impact Lamar Miller at all, which I don't agree with.
I'm not a Duke Johnson fan, and I'm even saying it's a bad take.
Yeah, but I also don't agree with the fact that he's just going to walk in and take over the job from Lamar Miller. The Texans like Lamar Miller. They could have walked away from a pretty sizable contract this year for very minimal, and they opted to keep Lamar Miller. They like him. They have a plan for him. He is their running back. It's going, in my opinion, it's going to be a 1A, 1B type thing with Lamar Miller being the 1A and getting the actual carries. But to say that Duke Johnson is going to have no bearing on Lamar Miller at all it's just wrong, because Duke Johnson is one of the better, probably top 5 catching running backs in the NFL. So
100%.
to think that Lamar Miller is going to keep that role, because, he is competent. He's a competent pass catcher. Lamar Miller is. He always has been, but he's not Duke Johnson. So to think that he's going to just keep all of the role as a bell cow, that's a bad, like you were saying, it's just a bad take. He's definitely going to have an impact on Lamar Miller. How much remains to be seen. Lamar Miller wasn't, a lights out pass catcher the past couple of years anyway. So I don't think it's going to have a huge effect on him, but it's definitely going to take away from his snaps. And if it takes away from his snaps, snaps yield production. So this is a high flying offense that can clear the field out when Will Fuller is healthy. You have Nuke. And I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's going to affect Kiki QT. A lot of people seem to think he's going to get Kiki QT short targets. I don't think that's the case. It's going to be weird to see where he fits in, but I mean, I definitely think he's going to have a role.
Yeah, I think he'll have more than a role. I think me and you are both probably underplaying this, because think about it. Will Fuller has a history of being injured. Kiki QT was hurt last year, and he's actually hurt now. He's not going to be playing week 1. So you got Kiki's out. Will Fuller is always hurt. And Lamar Miller, if he gets hurt, I mean, forget about it. Duke Johnson's going to be the RB1 on that team. I mean, right? I mean, he's the immediate backup. He's the handcuff. He's a satellite plus running back. And there's not many of those in the league, really, that could be a satellite back on any given Sunday. And then if an injury happens to the running back 1, he's going to get bumped right in there and be the sole running back there. So
I agree. There's not many guys with that skill set. I 100% agree with you that have the ability to catch passes the way that he catches passes, and then carry a load. Like he does have the body that to be able to do it, and he never really got the opportunity in Cleveland, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So I think if he did get the opportunity, it would be really fun. I think he would have a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, maybe we are downplaying it. I don't see him being a fantasy league winner. It seems to be one or the other reaction. It's like, he's not going to affect Lamar Miller, or, he's your 2019 fantasy winner, so I don't know. I think it's going to be somewhere in between. But maybe we are downplaying it slightly.
I'm just trying to be realistic about the situation, because I've been highly critical of him for years, but now I'm like, you know what? The situation's juicy. Both of those wide receivers have shown that they have gotten hurt over the past couple of years. And if one or both are out, like if Kiki's out, he's going to get immediate production as a pass catcher. Then if Fuller gets hurt again, I mean, forget it. Like, wheels up in that offense. Yeah. I mean, I do think that he could be, like, dare I say it, a league winner in the second half of the season if, something happens catastrophic.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is it's got to break right. Like, people are assuming right now that he's a league winner, before the season even starts. Like, pump the brakes a little bit. Things would have to fall right for that, in my opinion, for that to happen. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you're going to take away one thing from the Texans offense heading into fantasy football, well, other than Nuke, it's that Will Fuller is going to have a fantastic year. A fantastic year. Just take that nugget. Forget about Duke. Forget about Lamar Miller.
He's still hurt.
Forget about Kiki QT. It's Nuke and Will Fuller season, baby. It's Will Fuller season. In 2 years ago, they went a 4-week stretch where Nuke was the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football, and Will Fuller was the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy football. That's what this offense is capable of. That's what they're capable of. I don't care if you think Kiki QT is a better route runner. I would actually argue with that. People pull that up all the time.
Yeah,
I don't know where you're getting that from. His ADOT is 5. So, I mean, he's running literally a drag route across. Is that a good route? I mean, I don't know. So Will Fuller brings something to this offense that it's undeniable. When he is on the field, the chemistry that he has with Deshaun Watson is incredible. And I'm just laying that out there right now. I know it had nothing to do with Duke Johnson, but I have to because I'm a fanboy and it's part of my brand. Will Fuller season this year, people.
Yeah, we know all about the love with Will Fuller.
And then one more thing. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. One more thing about Duke Johnson.
Oh God,
I'm going back to Duke Johnson. How about Nick Chubb? I mean, he's kicked now. He's ousted two play. I mean, Carlos Hyde midseason was the entrenched big signing of their offseason. Week 6, he's out the door, and now you got Duke Johnson. I mean, been there for years, and all of a sudden he demands a trade because he sees the writing on the wall. Nick Chubb, man, he is underrated. I can't believe he is behind Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook doesn't even have 1,000 yards combined for his career.
He's going after Dalvin Cook and ADP.
After Dalvin Cook.
Oh God,
it's asinine. It's asinine. It's insane. And redraft dynasty. Get all of the Nick Chubb shares that you can. People are, because they assume that he can't catch passes. Why? Why? Because he didn't catch in college? That's how Georgia runs. Yeah. They have one running back tote the load, and they have like a freshman come in and be a pass catcher. Like,
yeah. And who's the immediate backup to it's Dontrell Hilliard or it's
it's Dontrell Hilliard right now until Kareem Hunt comes back after 8-game suspension and 2 weeks of conditioning. Week 10 he'll be back. But yeah, Nick Chubb's gonna have 1,000 yards by then.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you thought that the Nick Chubb club broke last year. I mean, come on, it's only going to get better for Chubb.
I just had to put that out there because that's something that's been really weighing on my my dynasty heart. Is like, people just, I feel like, how can you say a guy who's going in the second round is being disrespected? But I really honestly feel like Nick Chubb is being disrespected. He's going in redraft at like RB12. That's insane. That's insane to me.
You're talking about Dalvin Cook is RB12?
No, Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb is RB12. So where's Dalvin Cook going in redraft?
RB11 or 10 or 11.
That's a mistake.
It's insane to me. Dalvin Cook doesn't have 1,000 yards combined. He hasn't even played 16 games over his career.
And don't forget, they got your boy over there in Minnesota.
And I'll tell you what, Madison looked good. He looked good in the preseason.
He actually did.
I told you, watch out.
Not get crazy. It's week 1.
I know it's week 1, but that's what he's capable of. That's what he's capable of.
So speaking of week 1 preseason, was there any conclusions you had? Any players that really spoke to you, that really popped? I mean, for me, I was waiting for that Dallas game, and I think that game was like Sunday night, or was it Saturday night? Because I've got Weber in the NFLMAX league, and there's a couple guys still that I can still grab off waivers, and one of them I took right away, but I was trying to figure out who to cut, so I cut Mike Weber. And I'm surprised you didn't pick him up. He's all yours if you want him. But I went ahead and I took my boy Robert Davis. And listen, I know it was blown coverage on behalf of the Browns, but Robert Davis, I've loved his profile since he came out as a rookie. He's an absolute freak. And I'm just looking at that Redskins depth chart, and I'm saying, man, like they're talking about Doxson getting cut. Terry McLaurin's going to be the one. And who else is there? Like Paul Richardson and a bunch of garb.
Yeah, so Trey Quinn. Yeah.
Trey Quinn's hurt. He's out.
Yeah, I know. But he'll hope he's locked into the slot when he's back. I mean,
right, but he could be out like for a long time, they're saying. He's got a broken foot. So, I mean, you can paint a scenario here where Robert Davis could end up being the 3. And if that happens and he's healthy, man, I mean, right now, I'd rather have Robert Davis than Josh Doxson. And that's probably a hot take, but I love Robert Davis. But again, I know it's blown coverage. He caught that stupid touchdown, but whatever. He's healthy and he's on the field. That's all I wanted to see.
Yeah. A couple takeaways for me is, playing DFS, a lot of what I do is look at snap counts, dig through depth charts, and just try to find and figure out, what are coaches thinking and where are they? My top running back play for the week 1 slate was Damian Harris, and Bill Belichick trolled me and didn't play Damian Harris.
I know.
But one of my biggest takeaways for that is that tells you all that you need to know about how the Patriots view Damian Harris right now. He is going to be a key piece of that offense.
100%.
And they didn't put him on the field. And it's the same thing with the Redskins with McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
He got one snap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so those are the important things to take away from the preseason, more than, the guys who are, popping off on the third string. I mean, that's great if you want to go deep diving and, try to find the next wide receiver that's going to rise up the ranks. And the historical hit rate of those players is so low that you can have fun doing that. When I'm watching preseason, I'm looking at the backups, and Damian Harris not stepping on the field, that was huge for me. Dante Pettis actually running with second team. We talked about it last week. I mean, that was big. That's telling. You look at a guy like, trying to think, Ty Montgomery. I mean, he is the clear backup to Le'Veon Bell. That's Absolutely. A guy that you want to be targeting. I mean, Ty Montgomery was, when healthy, he proved in the NFL that he could put up fantasy points. He was a fantasy relevant, not only relevant, but he was a good fantasy asset for that period of time where he had the starting role and he was healthy. Now he's the backup to Le'Veon Bell, who hasn't touched the ball in a year and a half. I mean, Absolutely. These are the kinds of things that you want to take away and you want to glean from preseason. Madison, clear backup to Dalvin Cook. That's a guy that you want. Dalvin Cook, like I said, hasn't played 16 games in his career over the 2 years. I mean, he doesn't even have 1,000 yards rushing. And Madison is the new Latavius Murray in that offense. I mean, so there's just a ton of things that you can glean from preseason, apart from, like you were saying, Robert Davis in a blown coverage touchdown. So, I mean, things like, even one more thing that pops to the top of my head, because I don't have a list sitting in front of me. Buffalo, Robert Foster running with the twos. He looks buried. And from all reports is he's been invisible in camp. So if you're holding on to Robert Foster, I mean,
isn't that crazy though?
You might have a cash out period here. He still has name value from last year. Don't hesitate to use him, use him in a package.
I'm shocked about that because he looked so good last year when him and McKenzie were playing in the second half of the season. But like Zay Jones, like really? Are we really going to go down the Zay Jones road in Buffalo? I mean, I don't know. Wow. I mean, who's their starting three wide receivers?
It's going to be Beasley. It'll be Smokey, and it'll be Zay. Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. If Robert Foster doesn't find himself on the field,
that's a huge. He's done. I mean, if you can't beat out that group of wide receivers other than John Brown, I mean, that's an issue. It really is, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this is what you have to pull from the preseason. You still have a small window. I'm not saying you're going to get this huge package for Robert Foster, but people who aren't paying attention to those little kinds of nuggets from the preseason, like, while people are over here talking about this guy or that guy, doing such and such on third team offense, you need to be looking at, guys like Robert Foster, where they've fallen down the depth chart. Cash out while you can. Don't be afraid to include them in a bigger package, while they still have a little name cachet, because the chance that he pans out if he can't beat out Zay Jones on the field is slim to none.
Yeah, I agree. A couple other guys. Ito Smith did not look well. Drew Lock is not.
Brian Hill started. I know I keep cutting you off. Brian Hill was taking that role. And Kadre Allison, who I have a lot of because I thought it was going to be he's getting flat out beat right now by Brian Hill. And Brian Hill was one of my guys a couple years ago who I had on the practice or the taxi squad. And then he bounced around. He went to Cincinnati. He came back to Atlanta. And I was like, man, this is like, he's going to be one of those guys who, he's one of those guys who has a profile. He's talented, but he's just sitting at the bottom. He's not rising up. And so I finally cut ties. I got to that point where it was like, I need to optimize that roster spot. Mm-hmm. And now here he goes. He's rising back up. And I honestly believe that he may have that goal line role heading into this year. And he may even supplant Ito Smith as the number 2 running back to complement Devonta Freeman.
And that's a shame because I love Ito Smith, but man, has he blown opportunities? I mean, last year he was handed the role and he blew it. Like, his yards per carry last year were atrocious. And this year, I mean, already just 1 week, but he didn't look good. And it's disappointing because his profile is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's like one thing that we need to monitor for next week. Going into next week, where does that depth chart lie?
Yeah.
Where does it lie when they step on the field for week 2? Because now you're going to start seeing, the players get, 1 or 2 drives, like the starters get 1 or 2 drives, and you're going to see the second team get 3 or 4, like things are going to start to widen out as teams gear up. And, you need to be paying attention. This is where you get the running back clarity, especially.
They're like one of I would say 3 to 4 teams where I'm really watching that running back depth chart. It's Atlanta to see who's behind Freeman. Then you've got Green Bay between Aaron Jones, my boy Dexter Williams, and your boy Jamal Williams. So Dexter Williams looked awesome.
Don't count out Trey Carson there either. I mean, he was getting run. Yeah. He was getting run with Dexter Williams. So, I mean, you have, and then they bring in Hall too. I mean, that's a pretty stacked running back room. I don't think either of them are going to supplant Dexter Williams or Jamal Williams. But again, like you're saying, it's something to keep an eye on. And the longer Jamal Williams stays out, I mean, the more Dexter Williams opportunities grow, and, he could end up the number 2. And then all of a sudden Jamal Williams becomes a cut.
I'm telling you, man, he's going to take that job and run away with it. Dexter Williams, at some point in the season, he's going to be the feature back in Green Bay. So you got, Green Bay, Atlanta, Dallas, we talked about already. Miami with Kalen Ballage and Kenyon Drake. I mean, that's going to be awesome to watch play out over the next couple of weeks.
Drake left the field today too.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, Drake left the field today too. So, I mean, I don't know if it's serious. I haven't followed up. I'll have to hit up my buddy Charles, is my resident Dolphins expert, but I don't know what they're saying. That the Dolphins, man, their blog is legit. They're on top of their guys, so I'll have to reach out to him and see what's going on there. But man, Ballage,
the Ballage barrage is coming. I mean, it sucks. It's going to be bittersweet because the Dolphins are so god awful. I mean, he's going to win that role, and he's, we're not going to be able to really praise him like we should, because the whole offense is going to be tempered. But nonetheless, I think, we both agree on this one, right? He's going to beat out Drake. I mean, for the number 1 role.
I don't know what you define as the number 1 role. I think that the role to have in Miami this year, being as bad as they're going to be in playing from behind, is probably the pass catching role. And I think that's probably Drake's. I think Kalen Ballage will be, the between the tackles, early down runner. And I think he has the home run potential to still be, fantasy relevant. But I think he's going to be a little bit of a nightmare to start sit decisions this year. And, I don't think that this is the year that he really, becomes a fantasy staple, but I definitely think it's a year that he gets on the map, and we can put the profile questions to rest about, well, where's the production at Arizona State? Because his size athleticism combination is just through the roof. So if he gets the opportunity and he can, put good film out and really capitalize, this is the year he gets on the map, and next year is going to be the year where he really takes a role and goes with it.
See, I want it to happen this year because his draft capital is so low. I just don't want this regime to be like, oh yeah, he showed well in 2019, but let's use a 2nd round pick, or, we know they're not going to use a 1st round pick because they're going to draft Tua.
Yeah. But, it's going to be interesting with Flores at the helm too now, because he comes from that Belichick stem, and they notoriously did not invest into running backs until the last 2 years. So it's just, maybe he's going to hold on to the early philosophy when you're building a team, unless you're, I feel like the Patriots spent that capital because they felt like they were there. Mm-hmm. And, obviously they won the Super Bowl, and they're the Patriots. They're always there. But I felt like they could justify spending that capital at that position, even though it was outside of their traditional philosophy of building a team. I'm wondering if Flores takes the other approach, the typical Patriot approach, which is you don't build from the running back position.
I hope so.
You spend capital in other places. So, Ballage, in my opinion, of all the shaky, situations, Ballage and Drake have the best opportunity to kind of push through the 2020 class, because I think that they're so bereft of talent at quarterback, obviously, and wide receiver. And there's, tight end. The nickel Lear is the starter right now. There's so many holes to fill. That offensive line is atrocious. Miami has a lot to work on, where I could see them going, through the 2020 draft and maybe, if anything, spending a day 3 pick on a running back because they're so deep talent, but nothing that's gonna, instantly supplant Drake
Yeah.
or Balaj.
We talked about them last preseason going into the season about like the worst teams in the NFL. And I said that the Dolphins were like the worst team. I think I said the Dolphins, the Bills. But here we are again, 12 months later, and they're still like the worst team in the league. So, like you said, I hope that they don't use high draft capital on a running back. And and Drake, they complement each other, Drake and Balaj. But I just want to see Balaj be the early down back because we all know he can catch the ball. So he could be an every down back.
Yeah, and that's the thing is he possesses the skill set, in my opinion, a greater skill set to take the 3 down role than Balaj does, or than Drake does. Sorry. I mean, Drake is a talented running back. I don't hate Drake. I think that Balaj's skill set to be a actual bell cow surpasses Drake's, and that's why I'm excited about him. I'm not sure that he can actually do it or he has the talent because we didn't really see it in college. His profile was pretty, minimal from a production standpoint, but just that the metrics are just through the roof. And I mean, his workout scores are just, it's something that you dream about. I mean, it's worth taking a second round rookie pick and taking a shot. But while we're on preseason and on Miami, one more thing I think it bears mentioning is his stock has gone through the roof is Preston Williams. I mean, this kid's talented. I mean, he
looked good.
He was a day 2 pick in the NFL draft if he didn't have off the field issues. And, I actually talked to my buddy Charles, who's a Dolphins fan. And when he was drafted, actually Charles took him in the rookie draft, just kind of siphoning through his profile. And I told Charles, I was like, it's a good pick. I mean, yes, he's undrafted free agent, but this guy was a day 2 talent. He really was. If he wasn't a knuckle head off the field, I mean, he was among one of the better wide receivers. He was highly regarded in this class, but clearly teams weren't comfortable with where he was at in his headspace. And so he fell out of the draft. And, man, the Dolphins, I'm praying for them. I'm praying, number one, that the kid keeps his head on straight because, he has the opportunity of a lifetime here. He's starting to get some buzz. He's one of the few undrafted free agents that actually seems like he has a legitimate path to playing time and opportunity. You hope that the kid gets it right and keeps his head on straight. But I also hope for the Dolphins because they really, after Devontae Parker year after year, and Kenny Stills, I love Kenny Stills, but there's only so far Kenny Stills can take you. So I'm just hoping that,
he's prototypically sized. He's 6'4", 211. Preston Williams is, and he dominated in college at Colorado State. So, listen, he's not the fastest guy. He runs a 4.66, which isn't, which is actually terrible. But Allen Robinson, my boy, I think he ran like a 4.5 or 4.6, but whatever. And let's face it, summertime's over, kids, which means the Devontae Parker hype train is going back to sleep because Devontae Parker only comes out to play in the summertime. So you get, the summertime spike, Devontae Parker hype, sorry. And summer's over. So now that we'll be playing real football, that only means that Devontae Parker will be going back to sleep. So, the depth chart's wide open. Albert Wilson's still hurt, even though I love Albert Wilson. Albert Wilson, to me, is like Golden Tate 2.0. If there's anybody that's ever going to be somewhat close to Golden Tate, it's Albert Wilson. And ironically, Golden Tate lost his appeal today, and he will be
that's a shame
suspended for 4 games. So it is a shame, but them's the breaks. So that'll be it for this week's episode. Next week we will have Elliot Christ with us. There was some complications with scheduling this week, but Elliot Christ will be with us next week, and I'm looking forward to Off Topic. I'm a big Rocco's Modern Life fan. I don't know if
of course. Yeah, I know Rocco's Modern Life.
Got my little Rocco here, and it's back. Netflix brought it back for 1 episode. Haven't watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to watching that. And that'll be it. Any final thoughts?
No, just keep grinding. It's preseason. Don't get ahead of yourself. But like I was saying, look for those small nuggets, whether it's backups, really the running backs especially. This is where you get your clarity. Wide receiver can still be a bit jumbled because you got, chemistry connections going on with backups to backups, or, just trying to get up to the first team or whatever the instance is. Wide receiver in the preseason isn't as clear, but definitely keep an eye on the running back situation, and you can get clarity there.
Absolutely. And preseason week 2 is in a couple of days. So looking forward to that. So before we end the show tonight, just wanted to remind you guys, the sponsor of the show, Monkey Knife Fight, the official sponsor of the NFLMAX. They are the fastest growing DFS prop style game on the planet. Monkey Knife Fight. You could pick your favorite players, choose an over-under on games, or take some head-to-head action in rapid fire. Listeners of the show get an instant 100% deposit up to $50 by using our promo code, which is NFLMAX, NFLMAX. So sign up, guys. monkeyknifefight.com. Play games and win real money. So I just wanted to thank everybody out there for listening, for subscribing. That'll be it for this week. We'll be back with Elliot next week for the Hot Pineapples. State your walk, Juggernaut. Everybody one clap. See ya.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good night.
Because I need that legitimate running back.
Yeah.
Like, I have like depth pieces at running back, but I don't have that legitimate full force.
Well, I mean, you've got Alpha Blue, so.
You forgot Monkey Knife Fight.
Oh!
I was trying to make the monkey simple.
So describe the fish again one more time. What were they like?
The flounder?
Yeah.
They're flat, and then they have like 2 eyes at the top, on top of their head.
They were flat like this?
Yes.
Were they flat like the earth is flat, or were they flat like...
No.
They weren't, or they were?
No, they're not flat like the earth.
So I've got you on record saying that the earth is flat. Okay.
No.
Yeah, the fish were flat like the earth. I get it.
I said the fish aren't flat like the earth.
You clearly said...
Because the earth is round.
Fish were flat like the earth. I'm going to totally put that in the...
That's not... Don't misconstrue my words.
Listen, I know that you know that the earth is flat, so it's okay. It's a hot pineapple hot seat, so they got to be hot questions. Like,
all right.
Hey, this is your baby, the hot seat.
I know, man. I know.
All right, man, go get some sleep.
Yeah, I need it.
Before we went on air, I took Allen Robinson, Danielle Hunter.
Why would you take Allen Robinson?
Listen, Allen Robinson is going to kill this year.
Listen, I hope he does.
For next week...
As things are popping in my head, I need to get them out because I don't prepare, so...
This is what I do. I have a little pad and pen, and then as you're talking, I'm like, Dak Prescott, this, that, and the other thing. So just like as you're talking, I'm like...
I'm not that prepared.
But my last pick, that last pick will be Robert Davis.
I know you were going to say Karan Higdon. I'm like, really still?
Robert freaking Davis, kids. He's the truth. Watch, Josh Doxson is totally getting cut from the Redskins.
Robert Davis. Robert Davis is like your poster child for why taxi squads need to be like 10 years of experience.
Just give me Robert Davis in every single league I'm in. He's my new Cordell Patterson.
I'll trade you Justice Hill for Robert Davis.
Never.
It's like 50-player rosters.
Let me get this straight. So it's a deep league. Brian Hill's rostered, but Alfred Morris is on waivers.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying last week's episode.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying, though, is like...
Rostering Alfred Morris. You know what it is? In the max, there's like, I would say 3 to 4 teams that you just can't trade with. So now you throw Alex in the mix, and it's like 4 to 5 teams. It's like, it's like half the league you can't trade with.
No, the whole league can trade with people. No one wants to trade with you.
But I have so many great players, and nobody wants to trade with me. I'm loaded. I'm stacked. And nobody wants any of these players.
I'll take Brandon Cooks.
I'm shopping him.
Hill plus what gets me Cooks?
No, that's not going to happen.
Until Alex comes along and beats you. If he beats you, literally, you're not allowed to talk for a week. That's the bet.
A week? 1 day.
No, a week. You can't say a word in chat. You just have to eat it. You just have to watch everybody destroy you, and you're not even allowed to defend yourself.
Oh, if he beats me.
It's only right. And you get nothing in return if you beat him because you're expected to beat him. But if he beats you, silence for a full week as we just rip you apart. And you're not allowed to say anything to defend yourself.
Seriously?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. Seriously. I was taking Bosa. And I thought maybe he would slip to 312 because people ignore IDP. Except like you and Nature Boys.
Yeah, Nate always takes him too early.
Yeah. He got some good ones this year, though. Dude, they're going to be legit.
They're making the playoffs.
I know. I'm kind of bummed I have their first round pick now.
Yeah, they're going to get in.
Because I think me and them can get in. And so then I have 2 picks from 6 to 12.
Too bad you couldn't get New York Broncos first.
Bam, though. Bam is he's locked in top 6. I feel like.
He knows it.
Yeah.
But the Broncos, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. What do you think about that outtake?
Leave Alex alone. Leave Alex alone.
It's too much fun ripping on Alex.
Just leave him alone.
Alex, we love you. And we also love ripping your team.
Not we, you.
One clap. One clap. One clap.